Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Woo Curious podcast. Your map to the mystical, your key to the sacred, and your guide back home to yourself. I'm Eileen, a writer, a spiritual coach, energy healer, and slow living witch. This podcast is your invitation to explore a world where the mundane and the sacred intertwine. It's a haven for those ready to take the first steps into the realms of magic and mystery, providing a safe space for you to embark on your own enchanted journey towards healing and self-discovery. Here, I'll unveil the whispers of the mystical, the rituals often hidden in plain sight, and I'll engage in sacred conversation intended to stir your soul and lead you back into your power. I'm all about demystifying woo and witchcraft. So, whether you're a seasoned seeker or simply woo curious, I'm so delighted you've decided to join me on this journey. Let's make magic. Hey Woo Crew, a brief interruption to invite you into an offer that feels extra potent at this time of year. Through the deep stillness of November, the veil between worlds grows thinner. This is the time when messages, guidance, and insight flow more easily from the unseen realms, and that's what makes Soul Council sessions so potent right now. In these 45-minute guided journeys, I help you to call a council of your spirit guides, ask your questions, and receive the wisdom that is waiting for you. You'll leave with clarity, comfort, and a recording to return to anytime you need to reconnect. If you've been feeling the nudge to seek guidance, to ask what's next, or to feel your connection to the beyond, this is your sign. I've created a discount code for all of you to use through the month of November if you enter SAMHAIN, that's SAMHAIN, and the number 15 at checkout. You'll receive 15% off towards your session. Book your Soul Council session now at myluminouslife.ca/soul-council-session and harness the magic of this liminal time. Hello, Woo Crew, and welcome back to another episode of the Woo Curious podcast. I am your host, Eileen, and I am here today with a very special guest, Crystal Cassidy. Crystal is the founder and CEO of SoulPod, a groundbreaking soulfulness app where you can find powerful structures to become more aware of your inner world and then transform it. With a unique background spanning 2 decades in biotechnology and a lifelong journey in spiritual practices, Crystal bridges the gap between cutting-edge science and mystical wisdom. Her near-death experience accelerated a series of changes that propelled her on a mission to make transformative spiritual tools accessible to all, ushering in a new era of human awakening through what she calls soul tech. I feel like this is just such a perfect match for what we talk about here. Welcome to the show, Crystal.
So excited to be here. I love the woo.
Yes, as is obvious by everything in your bio there. But I love that you love the woo and you've got that science tech background as well, because that's part of my own journey into this woo space has been not overcoming, but reconciling that very rational scientific side of my brain with the spiritual and the more than human world that exists out here. So
it can be challenging balancing both those worlds.
Yeah, it can for sure. And for me, I came to it, that other half of life, all of it, very late in life. And so I always love to start off.
Not that late.
Not that late. But I was 37 before I was like into anything kind of woo and spiritual, or at least into it openly. I think there was that curiosity in me long before, but for various reasons, it was not really accessible to me, safe feeling to explore. But I do want to hear a little bit about your journey, because that's the jumping off point for all of these conversations. Because I came so late in life to my spirituality, I'm always curious if it's something that's been with you through your whole life, if it's something more recently discovered, and how your spirituality informs what you do.
Yes, a lot there. I mean, to answer the first part of that question, has it always been with me? I mean, I think on some foundational level, it's always with all of us. Our awareness of it, though, can be muffled for a lot of the reasons you mentioned, one of them being feeling safe enough to even explore it. And I think, especially as women in this space, we can talk about the witch trials. There's a lot of trauma there from being in this space of exploring the nonlinear experience, the mystical experience, or the woo-woo. I do love that woo-woo came from the scientific realm. It was made to it originally. You probably know this because you've got this podcast, but it speaks to the tension that's there between the experimental side of society and the experiential side, and it's really was meant to make fun of these explorations and make them seem not serious. And really my passion is at this point is to get very serious about the woo-woo, that it's a very important, if not, I think arguably one of the most important things for us to develop is what I call inner technology. But I digress. So my experience, I think it really started with martial arts. I was lucky to have an amazing teacher. It was a very unique experience in my martial arts training, which I did like full time. It was my life for about a decade, from 12 till my mid-20s. And with that practice came meditation.
Right.
And it's like a Zen style of meditation for warriors, which is, it's not that much different, but maybe a mudra different and some visualization differences. But I didn't know at the time what a gift that was. I just saw it as an annoying thing, but I did come to understand that when I did do meditation and I found this stillness in my mind, that my performance from like a martial arts perspective got much better. And so really I was equating it with performance for a long time.
Right.
And then when I got older, I was meditating, kind of lost it in my 20s, as you do. And, at this point, I've been a daily meditator for over 10 years. And I started having mystical experiences. I didn't grow up perceiving ghosts, but all of a sudden I call it a realm that you go through when you're awakening. I was perceiving disembodied consciousness. I was starting to have contact with other interdimensional beings. I was starting to perceive things differently. And the biochemist in me was like, I'm pretty sure I'm not. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not crazy. I've never really had. But and it was just so, I think my curiosity was stronger than my fear. And I was like, this is fascinating. And also, I always come back to this. In the science world, the N of one experience, the first person experience is a data point. Do we want additional data points? Of course. But we also can't discount the singular personal experience that is information, that is valid. And so I kind of held on to that as I awakened more and more. And now, for me, my personal mission is to bring as much as my soul into this dimension of space and time as I can, to fully soul realize. I like that better than self-realize. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing at this point. It's just a passion. It's just the ultimate adventure, I think.
Right. Yeah, I love hearing that pathway, both the way that you came into your current spirituality and some of the experiences along the way. I think it's really familiar when we start to open ourselves up to that other realm, the other dimensions, that thank goodness, for me anyways, that we have more and more evidence to show that we're not crazy, that there are indeed multiple realities coexisting on top of each other. We've got, the physics behind it that's really soothing for the conditioned, the socialized parts of us who have been told that it's woo-woo, and woo-woo means crazy since we were tiny.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I like that word soothing. It is soothing. We're starting, and I think we'll continue to have a huge acceleration on the scientific side of understanding. We still don't understand consciousness. That's why we don't understand how anesthesia works. We know it does work. We don't know why it works, which is insane. But of course we don't, because we don't understand consciousness fully. And it's not algorithmic. It's not linear. It's not computational, I think, ultimately. And there might be those components of it.
Yeah.
But there is also, I'm certain of it, going to be found out that there is a quantum component, there is a field-based component, and that our brains are simply a mechanism by which we can connect to that field experience.
Right.
And so that gets really exciting, I think, for the analytical minds out there. You can sink your teeth pretty far into that at this point.
Yeah, you certainly can. And it's helpful too, I think, for those of us who've maybe been on this path even a little bit longer, to finally start to feel like there's ways in which we can discuss some of the experiences and the understandings with family or friends who may have been very skeptical up until that point too. There's that, again, coming back to safety. It starts to feel a bit safer. And I there's a voice in my head being like, you shouldn't need that in order to fully embrace. And yet, we're humans having human lived experiences, and relationships are so important. And so that fear of losing or shifting relationships as we follow this path can be really real too.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up relationship. I'm married to a man who's an atheist and grew up with a lot of disappointment from his experience in organized religion. And so he's very hesitant to wade into the waters of just take my word for it. And so to some people that might seem like, how are you in this marriage? I'm way out there.
Yeah.
And I think it was an early conversation that we did have. I was like, listen,
right.
I'm awakening. And this is important to me, and you don't have to agree with it. But if you can't be in the room with it, then we've got a problem.
Yeah.
But amazingly, we've found this harmony. And I'm actually incredibly grateful for many reasons. I'm grateful for my marriage, but one of them is that he helps keep me grounded. And I think I needed some of that. And I help keep him open.
Right.
And he's had some experiences at this point that he can't unexperience that's really testing and opening him up in some interesting ways. But I never really force it on him. I just, every day I'm doing my meditation. And if he ever is curious about meditation, I'll happily guide him. But I found that works really well for me, is to just let people have their experience, and they'll come to the path, whether it's this lifetime or not.
Right. Yeah.
And we're just here for when people are ready.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. There's almost like some beautiful hope to that story, because I think a lot of, and primarily my listeners are women, and a lot of women who are stepping foot onto that spiritual awakening path are like, but what about my partner who is either an atheist? I was in a marriage with a man who was atheist in the way that only those who've been hurt by the Christian church can be atheist.
Exactly.
And that was a place where it didn't feel safe for me to even look at anything else, because at that time we weren't getting this kind of snowball of neuroscience and quantum physics helping us to understand that there is maybe something more. And he was so disdainful. And that's the difference, I think, is that I wasn't able to have that conversation of like, you don't have to be along for this ride, but you have to be present to it and comfortable with it. And my current partner is like, he's skeptical and thinks a little, I think he still thinks it's a bit woo-woo.
That's okay.
But it's okay. Every now and then he'll come by when I've got a deck of cards out and be like, what's my future? Tell me my future.
Yeah. And he's probably very serious about that. I have found that that's been one of the ends with my husband, is he loves some tarot cards.
Who doesn't?
I mean, and it's just so, I think those are a big gateway And so, there's no rushing this. We have all the time in the world. And I will say that, and it's a heck of a lot more fun to live your life as a creator. So yes, everybody has their own timing, and it's a whole different way to live that's so fulfilling and exciting and enriching, and builds so much momentum in your life that you want rather than what you don't want. So there's a balance there.
It feels like that, like it's that conscious awareness of stepping into the seat of the navigator in your own life.
Yeah. Exactly. I love that. Being in the front seat. Or really, who's in the front seat? Is it your ego, or is it your highest self, that awareness that sits behind your constructed sense of self? And that's what I'm so interested in, is, can I put my soul, my highest self, in the driver's seat more, and put human Crystal, ego, and all these things that she thinks she is and isn't in the back seat a little bit more? That's creative power.
Yeah. And you said something earlier, to soul realize instead of to self realize. And you also alluded to that sense of your husband keeping you grounded, or like almost being that like tether back down to the ground, because often, again, we go through these spiritual awakenings and we're like, I'm just going to be up here forever now. And so as you think about like putting your soul in the driver's seat and letting those more human, like belief pattern systems, things we think we are, be passengers, how do you do that without losing connection to being here and present, and you are an embodied soul having that human experience?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the term soul realization is important to me, because a lot of times we're thinking about, in spiritual work, going up and out. And that is one direction of the current. But the other side of that current is down and in.
Right.
And so there has to be a balance there. If we're on this planet in a human body, we were here, no matter how awakened you are, if you're walking and breathing on this planet right now, you came here to experience some of the separation. Whether you came for the reasons are going to vary greatly, but on some level, we came here. And so we can't throw that out either. But I think that it's a balance in that you start to learn how to use your ego and your human for your benefit rather than being a victim to it.
Right.
I think that's the shift you start to make with becoming soul realized, bringing as much as your soul as you can into this dimension of space and time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That feels powerful. And also, like, in some ways, I don't know why the word scary almost just came in. Like, it feels like there's some courage required in order to...
Oh, I got chills. You brought up my favorite thing. Courage is something I talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Because you're 100% right. You're tapped in on this totally. That it requires a tremendous amount of courage. And this is, quite frankly, why a lot of people don't do the work. And I bring up this one friend of mine who I adore, and she loves this spiritual path and all that, but she finally told me, and she was kind of, I could tell, scared to tell me. She was like, Crystal, I don't think I'm going to awaken in this lifetime. I think it might be another lifetime for me. And I told her, I was like, that's okay. That's totally okay. You might have other things, more earthbound things, and you're working just on that one side of the current in this life. And is it balanced? Maybe not, but it's also okay. But it brings to mind, because I think she has a lot of fear that she's working through. And it takes a lot of courage, because you're being asked to, become somebody. We're trying so hard to become somebody and develop this sense of self, and then we're being asked to let everything go. And ultimately that surrender that only you can do. Nobody can do it for you. No psychedelic, no teacher. Ultimately it comes down to you And it requires a deep reverence, self-love, courage, and determination to do it. And there's really no way around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is like that sense of to do that and the act of stepping over that threshold, it feels like it can change everything. I mean, it does change everything.
It does change everything, and you kind of have to be prepared for that to be okay.
Yeah. Which is that change. Change is scary to our nervous system, right?
Yeah.
Our biology, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're wired not for growth.
Yeah.
We're wired for survival.
Yeah, exactly.
So of course your mind is not trying to carve new neural pathways, and your body is going to follow your mind. Mm-hmm. So you have to rewire that relationship. That's why meditation is so hard at the beginning, because you're dealing with two big elements: the conscious mind to start with, and the physical body. Mm-hmm. And they're just going to battle each other until the physical body finally trusts your conscious mind as the one in control, the one that's calling the shots. And most of us are victims to the body and to the conscious mind. So that's some major rewiring that has to happen.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting way to think of it. Like, and I think specifically in the context of meditation, it makes sense. Like, victim to the body, it wants to move, it wants to tell you you're uncomfortable, it wants to, all of those things. And it's so funny that in that very specific instance, it's so hard to override what the body wants. Whereas in the rest of life, we are experts at overriding what the body wants and all of the wisdom that can be offered up there.
Or we think we are, but yes.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of the work that I do, is getting women back into their body so that they can hear that kind of deeper wisdom that comes through that intuitive insight, the trust in themselves.
And so important.
Yeah. And yet at the same time, there is, when we go, okay, that's kind of the first step, it feels like. And then if we're going to go into that place of again, like that soul realization, getting into that place where we can let go of ego or have it serve us instead of the other way around. It's remembering also that even though we are in this body, we are not this body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a vessel, a temporary vessel. And I like that you mentioned remembering, because a lot of times in this conversation, it can sound like there's something wrong with you, when really there isn't. You are who you are, deep down, is perfect and whole. And really this is a process not of creating something new, but remembering who it is that you are. Mm-hmm. And that perfection, that oneness, that interdimensional being is already whole. We're just in this experience of it, this kind of fractal of it. We're just refining the edges. We're refining the surfaces, the facets in this dimension. So there's nothing wrong with you, but the embodiment part and being still enough. It's always interesting, right? Mm-hmm. One of the things that in meditation that you hear is, I can't sit with myself. I can't sit for that long. I always find that so interesting, and I 100% understand. But it's interesting to me that we have such a hard time sitting with ourselves.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate relationship, is the one you have with yourself. And it should be very informative what comes up when you simply sit with yourself, which at first is your conscious mind. And then we can talk about moving into the subconscious and then the superconscious states. But it's one of the biggest gifts, if not the biggest gift you can give yourself, is that relationship.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is touching on something else that's been really important to me, even before I recognized the spiritual side of what I wanted to offer. I was a midwife before I started this journey.
Wow.
And when I first left midwifery, I had a life coaching degree from the Center for Applied Neuroscience, so I could still be a legit like a science-minded person. But I was also concurrently taking this wild medicine energy healers program. But when I first started promoting my new business, I didn't talk about the energy and the spirit and that stuff. I was talking about rest and the need for rest and for us to slow down. And what comes up, I still talk about it. I spoke about it at a women's festival last summer, or this summer that just went by. And what comes up for so many when we slow down is it doesn't feel comfortable because we've been ignoring things. We've been ignoring our truths. We've been stuffing down emotions, grief especially. And that sense of discomfort often comes from like, oh, if I slow down long enough to hear what's going on, I might actually have to do something about it.
Ooh, yeah.
Which comes back to courage again.
Yeah, once you know, you have a choice.
Yeah, you can willfully ignore, or you can act.
Or.
And
We're
I always
advocates for or.
Yeah, definitely. And or at your own pace too. I love that you said, with your friend, it might not be this lifetime. Just because you have an awareness of something doesn't mean you have to move today. You can prepare, you can, sit with it. But the longer you sit with it, the more it's like, at some point it becomes a cage.
But at some point it becomes a cage, and then the cage gets smaller and smaller until you're in the chrysalis by force.
Yes,
and
totally.
That is certainly, I think, a lot of people that are on the awakening path at a pretty rapid pace. It's usually one of those moments of trauma or intensity. A lot of times the physical body failing, that is the universe really giving you a wake-up call or giving you an opportunity to, first of all, embody what it is that you think that you knew and to really experience, do you know what surrender is?
Yeah.
Those experiences will show you that, and to open to more possibility and to bring some clarity into your life. I think that's another thing that those kind of more forceful, difficult experiences. So when we're talking about courage, it's like, yes, it takes a lot of courage, but the other side of that, there are consequences energetically to choosing or not choosing. So you're always manifesting. That's why I like calling it conscious manifestation. It's because you're just aware that you are doing it, that you are trying to create your present moment, which is your future. And sometimes that can get, there's a certain momentum that is built through your frequency, and the universe will adjust that path based on what your soul came here to experience, which many of us don't have an awareness of. That's not you that created that. That's the higher awareness that sits back here. And so it's a complex thing to talk about, but I don't want to say it's like awaken or you'll be hit in the face by the universe, but in a way that's kind of the deal.
Often that's the way it goes. Yeah.
That's the agreement we made when we came here in this experience, is to learn how to be energetic manifestors, to be interdimensional beings, in my opinion. So yeah.
I'm really curious. I want to make sure we kind of turn to the topic and weave it in. I know it's all interconnected, of your app and that SoulPod app, and what it was created for, how it came to be, why it's here, and who it's serving.
Why it's here. It was really birthed out of one of those moments that I'm talking about in 2020. I was severely ill and had a brush with death, learned a lot, cleared the slate, so to say, woke me up even further than I had already woken up. And, it's so cliche, but when you go through something like that, a lot of things get clear. And for me, it was a knowing that what I had done in biotech, I felt very complete with. I wasn't burnt out. I was just complete with it. And I could feel the calling to something new. And I knew that I liked structure. And so I love creating structures that are impactful and transformative. So ultimately, SoulPod is a platform for the awakening. It's a platform for the new earth, which is a new frequency that us as a collective are being asked to step into. And I wanted to create something that would help you go deeper on that path. So it's beyond mindfulness. Mindfulness is an amazing foundation, but this brings back in the component of the mystical experience, the past life experience, the integration across space and time experience, brings in mantra, brings in these different tools that you can experiment with and see what works for you. But each ritual is going to bring you deeper and deeper and deeper throughout that journey, so that you really gain the capacity to learn about the triangle breath, but expand it more and more and more. So you're not just doing it once a day every now and then.
Right.
And so we're big on personalization, understanding where it is you're on your journey right now, and deeper practices and a community, which we're about to release in a couple weeks, so towards the end of November. A new community side of the app, which I'm very, very excited about, because for me, as we talked about, this process can be weird. It can be overwhelming. It can be scary at times. And there aren't a ton of places to have those conversations. And so we're creating space where you can have those types of conversations. But it's really my personal love letter to humanity.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. And I've had a chance to play around in it a little bit. Yeah. You gifted me a free month. I was on vacation, so I didn't dive in as deeply as I might have liked to, but it's beautiful. And I love that it's I love that it's not like a one size fits all, that you get those intro questions when you drop in, what it's figuring out what you need, where on your path you are, how that app can best be tailored to suit you and that stage of your journey, and then getting paired up with your pod. Because you're so right that these conversations, women in my community often say this, it's like, where else can I show up and be like, so I was talking to my dead dog yesterday. Exactly. and have that be okay and safe, and nobody's eye rolling or, thinking you've gone off the deep end, and that woo woo comes back, that word. I love that you brought that up right at the beginning of our conversation too, because it's a word that I've been thinking about. In some ways I feel like it's like a reclamation to use it.
I love that. I agree.
There's a woman that I admire her writing and I follow, who has a Substack called Don't Call It Woo, because so much of what we call woo is just these ancient indigenous ways of knowing, and this knowledge that's been there. And so I've spoken to this before. I'm like, I'm on both sides. I'm going to keep using it. It is the name of my podcast, but I'm using it with love and reverence for the fact. Yeah.
And I think reclamation is an important energy.
Yeah.
It was created it's only in the 90s that term came up. And it was meant to like imitate the woo woo, like that you'd make when you saw a magic trick.
Right.
And so it's I think reclaiming that is powerful.
Yeah. It's something I'm out to do, reclaiming the word witch, reclaiming the word woo, reclaiming
exactly
all of these things that have been manipulated by like the patriarchal and capitalistic systems we live in to be negative instead of the magical, beautiful places they are.
Yeah, I love it. I fully support that.
So for any listeners who are curious about connecting with you, working with you, getting your app, what's the best way for people to do all of that? What do you want to share about those pieces?
You can find us at soulpodapp.com. You can find us on the iOS App Store. We're not on Android yet. We're working on it. And you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and we have a retreat coming up. We're actually just about to open the registration for this April 2026 in Joshua Tree. We'll take these practices deeper, and we'll also do some meditation out under the stars in the desert to connect with what I call love and above interdimensional consciousness. So if you're into that, you can check out our retreat as well.
Oh, beautiful. And there's going to be a code in the show notes, along with the links to all of that, a code for you to get a free month trial on the SoulPod app. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah, why would you not?
Right? It's free. It's amazing. And yeah, of course, links to all of those ways of getting in contact and dropping into some of these beautiful offerings that Crystal has. Thank you so much for being my guest today on the show. It's been a delightful conversation. You're so welcome.
It's been so fun. I've had a blast. Thank you.
You're so very welcome. And yeah, thank you to all the listeners. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating, a review, like, subscribe, comment, depending on where you're listening, share it with a friend, and make sure you go and follow Crystal over on Instagram and all those other platforms as well. We will see you again this time. I will see you again this time next week. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye for now.